The show must go on, even if there's a big typhoon coming in. It is always with great pleasure to meet all of you as we open the annual Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. The Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines, or EVA, is 15 years old this year. Though we are rolling out our 12th edition of our 12th Electric Vehicle Summit today. Welcome, friends, colleagues, stakeholders, partners, media bodies, guests across the country and the region. Our three-day event promises to be even bigger than last year with lots of surprises, insights, and new learnings as we continue to push for the growth of electric vehicle use. The two-year-old Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, or the VIDA law, is now in full swing. EVAP remains to be committed in monitoring and further pushing the implementation of every important aspect of the law. EVAP reiterates that we still have a long way to go to achieve the industry goal of selling 2.45 million EVs and opening up to 65,000 EV charging stations nationwide by 2028. We continue to uphold our unwavering support for the Department of Energy's comprehensive roadmap for the electric vehicle, or PHEV. The 12th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit is designed to further ignite a powerful call to action for a transformative shift in transportation or mobility. Thus, we have the theme Spark Change, Drive Electric. We invite everyone to be part of the movement sparking the change towards a cleaner and more electric future. With your participation, cooperation, and support, we can surely do more in terms of realizing the electrified and much improved future of our country's transport and mobility system. Together, we are building an industry that not just focuses on four-wheel vehicles. The EV industry is also covering two-wheel vehicles, e-boats, e-cars, e-tricycles, e-buses, and soon-to-be electric-powered airplanes. Now that we are backed by existing laws and regulations, we are now gearing up to making plans and programs for our current and future leaders. Be with us because EVAP still has more to roll out. And we are starting to target students who comprise the future citizens and leaders of the nation. We aim to spark change in them by initially providing exposure in technology and innovation through our extensive and growing network across the ASEAN region via the ASEAN Federation of Electric Vehicle Associations, or AFIVA. Another goal is to introduce a curriculum for the academy that would focus on EV technology so our students would not just be more familiar about the future of mobility but also possibly build prospective careers on these interests. Now let the excitement spark as we look forward to the sessions we have prepared for the next 3 days. Know the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities in the local EV industry through the first session lined up this afternoon. You wouldn't want to miss the EV Tech presentations after. Then relate, learn, and be more curious about the actual experiences to be shared by EV owners who are joining us today to help debunk the myths and the fake news spreading against EVs. To wrap up the day, we will have a panel discussion about ensuring safety and security when driving an EV. Tomorrow, day 2 of our summit will kick off with a policy dialogue for AFIVA. Everyone is still invited to hear and know the EV outlook for the region and globally. The sessions will also tackle electrification across Southeast Asia, as well as sustainability in mobility and the current state of the battery technology and network in our region. It will definitely be an insightful morning. Day 2 afternoon Sessions will be initiated by the discussion about the next generation charging technology. How is the charging infrastructure in the country expanding? More of our industry friends will then have their EV tech presentations, so be prepared to be amazed. There will be also a session about advanced sustainability programs through electric mobility. That session will talk about financing, green energy transition, and effective efforts to bolster sustainability of EV use. On the third day is equally exciting. We will begin sparking change among our youth by facilitating presentations, discussions, and sessions targeting the academy. We promise to make the culminating day of the summit very exciting and promising to our Gen Z and Alpha Gen participants. And let me also commend a special Pinoy who is sparking excitement with us, not today but tomorrow, our very dear Apple the App, who continues to make us all proud through his Apple the App Foundation partnering with the ASEAN Development Bank. The Philippines will have its first EV Center for Excellence with the goal to boost the electrification of the country's transport sector. We are one with our friends' aspiration to not only introduce new EVs and technology, but also help create a sustainable ecosystem that will include skilled workforce, resilient infrastructure, and informed decision making. Lastly, EVAP is not stopping to make EVs the top choice for consumers in the country in terms of mobility. Before I wrap up, let me reiterate a part of our organization's core, which is cooperation. EVAP is not competing with any group or organization. Instead, we have always been open to working along with any groups from the public and private sectors to spark change towards a cleaner, more efficient, and more electric future. We offer our hand to everyone in and out of our industry to work collectively and help build this nation for the generation of today and the future. Thank you and enjoy the Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit 2024. And don't forget to spark change, drive electric.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edmund Araga. For sparking change, which of course we all need to get to where we want to go, and one of our partners has been sparking change since the very beginning, since day one, has been a very supporter, been a staunch supporter. We now have a message, ladies and gentlemen, from the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the Manila Electric Company, otherwise known as Meralco, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ronnie Aperocho.
Good day to our distinguished guests, industry leaders, and advocates of sustainable mobility. While I can't be there in person, I'm honored to join you virtually for the 12th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. On behalf of Meralco Chairman and CEO Manuel D. Pangilinan, I extend a warm welcome to all. This year's theme, Spark Change, Drive Electric, is more than a call to action. It reflects our shared belief that the time for sustainable mobility is now. Together, we have the chance to shape a future where electric vehicles are not just an option, but a vital part of efficient, everyday living. At Meralco, we are fully committed to enabling this transformation. We're strengthening the grid, powering EV infrastructure, and electrifying our own fleet through our own mobility program with over 150 vehicles converted since 2020. By the end of the decade, 25% of our fleet will be electric. But more than that, we are here to support you, our partners, our customers, with reliable energy to help you make the shift to electric vehicles. This summit is a moment to reflect and act. Together, we can spark the change, starting from zero emissions. It will drive the Philippines towards a cleaner, brighter future. Thank you for your commitment, and let us all make this summit a catalyst for lasting progress as we collectively power better lives for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ronnie Amirocho, for that very inspiring message. As I said earlier, it does take a village. It's something that, well, just one organization couldn't do on their own. We obviously have some private company support like Meralco, which is very, very important. We also need our government support as well. Everyone needs to work hand in hand to create this vision, because what we're creating here is a paradigm shift. This is not something that is easily adoptable, right? We need to change people's way of thinking. Then there's infrastructure that's driven by regulation, incentives. There's a whole big mess, as you can understand. But this is why it's so important to have key players and to deliver a keynote speech from one of our key players here from the Department of Energy, ladies and gentlemen, is Secretary Rafael Lotilla, who is the Undersecretary since 2016. Presently, he is the Undersecretary in charge of the Energy Policy and Planning Bureau in the Energy Utilization Management Bureau. He is also in charge of the Information Technology and Management Services Investment Promotions Office, Consumer Welfare and Promotions Office, Internal Audit Division, Public Affairs Office, and Administrative Services. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome from the Department of Energy, Undersecretary Felix William Fuentebella.
Maraming salamat. Pasensya na, kailangan ko maglagay ng earphone. Tumatanda na, hindi ko kaya masyadong malakas na sounds. So I'd like to greet our congressman from Bataan. Napakadali po niyang kausap kasi pag may binibigay po ang Department of Energy sa Bataan, parati siyang nandoon. Please give him a big hand, Congressman Abel Garcia. And by the way, Bataan is one of those provinces, local government units, who have been advancing the electric vehicle industry. And they have been calling the Department of Energy to fast-track strategies on how the government can procure electric vehicles and the corresponding electric vehicle charging stations. So it's very important that local government units are on board, because under the law, they are the ones in charge of putting up the green routes. And the green routes is incorporated in the comprehensive land use plan or spatial plan of the land within their jurisdiction. And when we have the green routes, it's easier for the industry to plot where the charging stations should be, anticipating that we want to drive to Bataan using our electric vehicles. So we have to have a strategic location of charging stations, and local government units play a big role in pushing for this strategy and move it forward. Also, we have the Secretary of the Climate Change Commission, Secretary Robert Jorge here. He is one of those that pushes for the climate change policies of the country. We argue these policies internationally in the Conference of Parties. It's a shortcut because usually countries will have to undergo a lot of discussions to have an agreement. But every year in the Conference of Parties, where Secretary Jorge is one of the heads in putting out our arguments, our talking points, once it is carried by the Philippine delegation and it is carried in the decisions of the other countries, it is already binding. And among the strategies of the country in the Philippines is to have 75% GHG emissions reduction. And 2.71% of that is unconditional, meaning the government energy management program, which includes the procurement of electric vehicles and putting up of charging stations is a must. Hindi natin siya tinali sa mga kondisyones na dapat tulungan tayo ng ibang bansa. So, for government to pursue that on its own, unconditionally, that's among the heavy tasks that we have to do before the international community. So, again, Climate Change Commission also pushes for policies that will provide incentives. They were the ones who will approve incentives for those that create green jobs under the Green Jobs Act. And Secretary Jorge has been a leader in steering the commission. The commission is headed by Secretary Tony Lexaga, but he's one of those pushing for the commission to approve the same. Kasi yung mga nagtatrabaho sa electric vehicle industry, if the Department of Energy's argument will be approved by the Climate Change Commission, we can get incentives because these are classified as green jobs. So again, that's Secretary Jorge for everyone. Now for the Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines, the President, Sir Edmund Araga, thank you for gathering the industry today and the following hours and days. But we want to hold and to have a community that is 24/7. Because once we have a community of electric vehicle owners and industry stakeholders, we want to be communicating on a chat group or an app. And we will be enabled to reserve our slots for charging in that app. And if we choose to do so, we can also monitor other electric vehicle users and the other vehicle charging stations if they are free. So it's very important that we see this as a community. So to EVA President, congratulations from the Department of Energy. Also to Merado, I have two friends here. And back in 2017, I think, yeah, they enabled me to drive an electric vehicle within the Meralco compound. The Vida was not yet in there. So I was running around 140, 150 kilometers per hour within the Meralco compound. So we were testing some of the electric vehicles. Natawa nga ako yung head nila na katabi ko. Talagang matindi yung seatbelt. So, this is indeed a great opportunity for us to gather individuals who are indeed passionate in promoting the EVs in the Philippines. When we were presenting the targets of the electric vehicles to the President, number one, he sees electric vehicles as a simpler technology. It's much more simpler than the ICE, the internal combustion engine. Number two, he readily approved the reduction of taxes for electric vehicles and even expanded the same on the next year. Number three, he sees that the incentives, the non-fiscal incentives for electric vehicles are on point. But when he learned about the LGU providing the green routes and the app that the Department of Energy and the EVAP is trying to come up with so that the community will have an online communication on strategies, that's where he got more excited. And there are benefits for pushing electric vehicles. Some of them cannot be quantified by the business of just buying an electric vehicle or the putting up of the charging stations and investing in the industry. It's the health that is being protected. when we push for the EVs. So that's one thing that the collaboration um, will achieve. And on the occasion of this 12th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit, with this theme Spark Change and Drive Electric, this is a good platform to revisit the comprehensive roadmap for the electric vehicles industry, where we have already gained significantly. We have to look into our targets. We have to see whether or not we have to be more aggressive in pushing for the putting up of charging stations. Try to look into the data of how other countries are doing it. And more importantly, how we can create more jobs, how we can create more electric vehicles within the Philippines. Because in addressing climate change up front and center of all our activities and programs, we have to embrace this policy of a circular economy, where we see that all the from raw materials, the green metals, to the finished product of batteries or electric vehicles, it can be created here in the Philippines. And good thing that Congress in the past few months have passed the create more. And there we have placed more incentives. For example, there is an additional allowable deduction of 100% from electricity costs. That will enable the Philippines to compete in bringing down electricity costs for locators. For example, in economic zones like where Bataan will have a number of economic zones. So these are talking points that will encourage more to invest in the industry. We also have the roadmap that includes dedicated parking slots for the electric vehicles in buildings and establishments. How we can penetrate and implement the same in parking areas and gasoline stations seamlessly, we can talk about it more here. We also have the issues on the public transport modernization program in the requirements of talking to the next generation on how we can secure a more promising future for all of them. So this is the target. We need to have 50% of penetration of the transport industry from electric vehicles. So from 10%, we have to achieve 50. And Congressman Abet Garcia was telling me that one country in Europe is at 90%, and the second country in Asia is at 50%. So we can do the same. For example, in removing the number coding for electric vehicles, the trend is for some of those who can afford, they sell 2 cars ICE to purchase 1 EV. So there are a lot of strategies that we can adopt and we can push. So the numbers will be presented by Director Patrick Aquino in the Electric Utilization Management Bureau. And there's a lot for us to digest, and there's a lot for us to consider as a way moving forward as one family, as one community, pushing passionately for the advancement of electric vehicles. So with that, from Secretary Ladilla and the President, congratulations EVAP and more power to everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusek Quintanilla. Very powerful words indeed. And sharing, of course, the green route with us, which is vital for the survival and sustainability of the entire electric vehicle industry. I guess by now you're starting to see what it takes to put this all together. I mean, it's almost like a circuit board in itself, with each playing a role. We need everybody to participate to create, well, a landscape that's fertile for I guess, this to grow. And we've seen it through regulation, through government regulations, through government incentives. A great point, I think, Yusek Fuentebella made about the coding. I mean, it's another way to look at it. When you give that incentive, there's a potential to remove 2 more cars from the street and replace it with just 1 car. I mean, these things add up. And one gentleman here who has an incredible vision also, not just for his own province, but also for the rest of the country. I had the pleasure of sitting down with him before in a one-on-one and seeing some of his plans for the great province of Bataan. And he himself will be also sharing with us some exciting stuff. Our next guest is such a leader. He has been proactive in pursuing the integration of electric vehicles into the public transportation system for the province of Bataan. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you the representative of the 2nd District of Bataan, the Honorable Albert Garcia.
Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone. First of all, I'd like to greet the President and officers of EVAP, headed by Edmond Araga, for a very successful event despite of the inclement weather we're experiencing this morning. Congratulations, and it looks like it's going to be a very successful 4 days dito po sa ating EVAP event. And also, I'd like to give you credit for your achievement for the past 12 years. You have really pushed EV, the EV industry and the change to EV here in the country. Kung saan po kami nakikita ni Mr. Edmond in Congress, in Batasang Pambansa, even in other countries, in Thailand, in EV conventions. So I know they work really hard to push EV in our country. So congratulations. To our good friend at ang ating partners sa Department of Energy, kasama ni Secretary Lotilla, of course, yung una pong nagsalita kay Yusek Fuentebella. And thank you very much for all your support for our country and for the province of Bataan. Sa ating Secretary ng Climate Change Commission, kay Secretary Borge, magandang umaga po. To all our partners from Meralco, BYD, VinFast, Nissan, Diamond EV Auto Group, and Hyundai Philippines. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. And to all the distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, industry leaders, and fellow advocate of sustainability, magandang umaga po. It is both a privilege and an honor to stand before you today at this pivotal moment in our nation's journey towards a cleaner, more sustainable future. We are here, united by a shared vision, a future where transportation is not just about moving people, but about advancing progress while protecting our planet. The theme of this year's summit, Spark Change, Drive Electric, perfectly captures the transformative momentum of the electric vehicle movement. It is not just a theme, it is a call to action, a mandate for each of us to take part in driving the future of mobility. We gather here today not merely to discuss the technicalities of electric vehicles, but to catalyze a movement that ensures our roads are not only pathways to destinations, but are gateways to sustainability. And the journey we begin today is not just about shifting gears. It is about shifting paradigms from conventional to electric, from passive to active environmental stewardship, from being consumers of fossil fuels to champion of renewable energy. Kami po sa probinsya ng Bataan, marami pong mga initiatives na ginagawa And I would like to present our province for you to consider to partner in the future. First of all, I would like to say that I am no expert with regards to EVs or the industry. I'm just a practical consumer and public servant. And I'd like to say from 7 years ago, we experimented with our residents in Balanga City, the capital of Bataan, and we put up solar panels way back 7 years ago. We were one of the first in our province, and at that time, we just wanted to learn more about this new technology. And we noticed that together with net metering, we were able to save about 30% of our electric consumption. And we had no problems from 7 years ago to date in our putting up of solar panels. And we made this learning from this experience. We slowly put up solar panels around the province of Bataan, which I'm going to tell you about in a while. Also, I'd like to say that I just don't talk the talk, but I also walk the walk, because around 5 years ago, I already started to experiment with hybrid vehicle. I was one of the first who bought the BYD Tang around 4 years ago, 5 years ago. That was my first venture into the EV industry, and it was a good experience. And now I go around using a pure EV vehicle. And learning from that, we are also starting to adopt the same measure in the province of Bataan. So I wanted you to know that I am also a practitioner. I also drive EV.
Oh no, I think he got injured. He's grabbing free. He's down in pain.
The things that we are doing in the province of Bataan. First, you said Fuentebella mentioned about the economic zones in Bataan, and we have the Freeport area of Bataan main zone. I'd like to share that we offer, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, the cheapest cost of power in our country. For industrial, we offer 6 pesos per kilowatt hour, and that is very cheap. And this is due to hosting your conventional power plant, but it is complemented by embedded solar on rooftops. So those big roof of our standard manufacturing buildings, with a partner, City Core, which is the sister company of Megawide, we put up solar panels, and because of that complement, we were able to reduce the cost of power to 6 pesos per kilowatt hour. Aside from that, we have a lot of solar farms around the province, and we are also one of the leading province that has solar on roof. For example, in our capital compound, in our Coliseum, the provincial government of Bataan, together with the Department of Energy, put up solar panels around the Coliseum, and we hooked it up to our provincial capital, and were able to save from 800,000 to 1.2 million pesos per month. So that's a big savings for our taxpayers. Aside from that, together with DOE and PNOC, They put up solar panels on our state university, which they will sell to our local electric cooperative or Penelco. Also, our government is encouraging the private sector to partner. So the malls are putting up charging stations like SM aside from solar on roof. With partnership with San Miguel, they are going to give us a battery electric solar system with a capacity of 800 kilowatts. So we will put this in our capital compound and we will be managing a microgrid, so to speak, in the compound. And this will save a lot of money, plus not to mention the benefit to our environment. When you go to the province of Bataan, don't be surprised if you see a lot of EVs moving around providing security, because the province has started to refleet our vehicles with EVs. So you will see a lot of BYDs, you will see a lot of Volkswagens, you will see a lot of Kia going around with our Metro Bataan Development Authority badge, providing security, and these are pure EVs together with our service vehicles in the local government unit. So just imagine these EVs charging from our solar panels, and the sun doesn't bill us every month. So they're providing security, moving around the province without any emission for free, because the sun doesn't charge us every month. So that's a very good initiative. Aside from that, together with DOE, we are going to put up charging station in strategic location around the province, and we will offer this not only for the government vehicles but also to our tourists, our visitors, in our residents, where they could charge so that we could eliminate range anxiety in our province. Recently, the LTFRB gave us 150 units of TNVS, or the Transportation Network Vehicle, and we plan to talk to the platforms like Grab and other platforms, and we want this implemented via pure EVs. And I think we will be the first local government unit to do so if we are successful. So we want the 150 units of TNVS in the province of Bataan to be pure EVs. Also, 4 months ago, the President came to Bataan, and together with the Department of Energy and the National Grid, we increased the capacity of the substation in the province of Bataan from 4,000 megawatts to 8,000 megawatts. So lately, we've had a lot of inquiries for solar and wind farms to put around the province because of this new infrastructure that was put up by the National Grid together with DOE, which was pushed by our President. Also, I was the author of, I gave a privileged speech, number 242, which is entitled, which mandates the MMDA to study the carriage capacity of our bus lane, and if there is additional capacity to allow pure EVs to ply through our bus lane so that we can create more incentives to our EV industry here in the Philippines. And this is where we met Mr. Alaga, our EVA president, And I'd like to share with everyone that the Committee on Metro Manila approved this privilege speech and will now be transmitted to plenary for its adoption. So binalita ko lang po sa inyo, Sir Edmond. So what I'm saying really is that our country, as mentioned by our good USEC, is really pushing for cleaner energy and pushing for EV. And we have a lot of national policies that would incentivize this. And I would like to offer the province of Bataan as your partner, as your context, so to speak, as your proof of concept, so that we can have a shining example where the rest of the country can emulate. Kaya maraming salamat for this opportunity. Again, let us all spark change and let us all drive electric. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat and congratulations to you all.
Thank you very much. In your province being dedicated to EVs, this is definitely going to be a very big help. Like I said, any little step we take and support we get for the adoption is going to go a long way into making this a sustainable future. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to talk a little bit more about that sustainable future that pushes to reduce the risk reduction for disaster and climate resilience, which is, of course, part of what this whole program is about. It is, of course, environmental, both of which are supported by our move towards electric mobility. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome up on stage for the Climate Change Commission, the Vice Chairperson, Executive Director, Honorable Robert Morgan.
Wow, very bright light. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning. Good morning po.
Morning.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Let me repeat that. At the outset, first, I'd like to congratulate the organizers for pushing through with the 12th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. Let's give them a warm round of applause for making this happen. It's a very important summit. It's very relevant. And again, I think they deserve a warmer round of applause for pushing through to today's event. At the same time, I think we also need to take a moment to remember our countrymen and women who are affected by extreme weather events, keep them in our hearts and our prayers, and also remember our first responders who are out there making a difference, saving lives of our people. Today's event, I think, puts into context not just the future that we want through electrification of our vehicles, but also the future that we desire for our people, most especially, who deserve only the very best. Allow me to recognize key officials present today. Bataan 2nd District Representative Honorable Albert S. Garcia. The congressman is very humble. He says he's not a practitioner nor an expert, but I would like to inform everybody that he is a champion on sustainability, and Bataan holds itself up to a redefinition of what progress and development looks like in the future. So, ating po pasalamatan ng kanyang leadership at ang kanyang vision. Palakpakan po natin si Congressman. Of course, I will recognize and acknowledge a good friend and somebody who I have been with in the trenches since I joined government, ever since I joined the Department of Foreign Affairs before, as a career diplomat, Undersecretary Felix William B. Fuentepella, who has crossed over from the legislative to the executive. Alamin po ninyo na he is one of the most dedicated and the most committed officials in the Department of Energy. Walang tulog po yan pag kami po ay nasa COP at nasa SB para lang po proteksyonan ang polisiya at posisyon ng Pilipinas. I would also like to acknowledge the Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines President, Mr. Edmond Araga. Palakpakan po natin. It's the 12th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. This only shows that there's sustainability and commitment also in creating an ecosystem that requires a lot of change, a lot of paradigm shifts, and a lot of commitment and action. I'd like to acknowledge also Industry Development and Investment Promotions Group of the Department of Trade and Industry, also the Office of the Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Relations, Assistant Secretary Marvin Coson Bayam, Manila Electric Company Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Ronnie Aparocho, and Manila Electric Company Senior Vice President, Chief Revenue Office, Mr. Ferdinand O. Elus, and our friends and partners in the industry and beyond. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and advocates, magandang umaga po. I would just like to preface this speech with information. The very first thing that we did when we were appointed to the Climate Change Commission was to set up a meeting with the Department of Energy. And what was our agenda item then? Our agenda item, ladies and gentlemen, was to fully understand the Philippine Energy Plan. And kasama po doon, to have a better understanding of electric vehicles. The first thing that we agreed on to advance this with the Department of Energy, Yusek Fuentebellanos, is that we at the Climate Change Commission received a hybrid vehicle as part of our partnership agreement to help push the agenda. And this was 3 years ago. And that was just near 3 years ago. Right now, we see concrete changes in the work that we do. What does this say, ladies and gentlemen? It says that the future is bright. Again, it is an honor to be here with you today at the 12th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. This gathering is crucial as we face challenges and decide to seize opportunities presented by climate change and the challenge of transitioning to a low-carbon economy. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, climate change is the governance challenge of our time. It is a global, historic, and systemic issue that affects every nation, every economy, every community, every person. The Philippines is one of the countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, has committed to ambitious targets through our Nationally Determined Contribution, or NDC. We recognize that the transition to sustainable and renewable energy sources is a critical pathway to achieve resilience, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and ensure energy security for future generations. One of the most transformative aspects of this transition is the rise of electric vehicles, or EVs, in the transportation sector. Road transportation is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in the Philippines, accounting for 10.676% of the country's total emissions based on the 2020 National Inventory Report. Therefore, promoting EVs can reduce our carbon footprint, improve air quality, and foster economic growth. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has emphasized that rapid transitions in transportation are crucial and critical to limit global temperature increases to below 2 degrees Celsius. To accelerate this transition, the Philippines has enacted several key policy measures. First, the Philippine Energy Plan, which aims for electric vehicles to account for at least 10% of the transport sector by 2040. Second, electric vehicle adoption is a key component of our National Adaptation Plan and the Nationally Determined Contribution Implementation Plan, both developed under the leadership of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. The NAP provides a roadmap for understanding climate risks and integrating adaptation to policies across sectors, including energy, transport, and communications. The NDCIP, on the other hand, outlines specific actions, costs, and timelines necessary for delivering on our climate commitments, particularly in transport. Third, the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, or EVIDA, provides the legal framework for the promotion of EVs, offering incentives for manufacturers, importers, and consumers. At the Climate Change Commission, we firmly believe that decarbonizing the transport sector is an important component of our broader climate strategy. While the CCC Excuse me. Have water, please. Sandali na po. Is getting to my throat. Palakpakan nyo naman ang aking attempt at working on this. And I assure you, it's a lot of policy discussion, but later on I will weave this together. We firmly believe that the CCC, the decarbonizing transportation sector, is an important component of our broader climate strategy. Why? For us, climate strategy, ang nakasalalay po dito ay buhay, kabuhayan at kinabukasan nating lahat. When we talk about climate change, we talk about our lives, livelihoods, and our future. Now, while the CCC is not explicitly tasked under the EVIDA, our role is vital in the broader framework of greenhouse gas emissions monitoring and climate change mitigation through the greenhouse gas inventory. We are working very closely with the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, other government agencies, and local government units to ensure that decarbonization of the transport sector becomes a reality. However, the shift to electric vehicles alone is not enough. This we realize. We need to approach transportation through a multimodal, integrated system that involves both the public and private sectors. This means complementing electric vehicles with expanded public transportation systems, such as rail systems, bus systems, and non-motorized mobility options like cycling and walking. And this is why we are very much encouraged by what the president of this organization has said. EVs does not mean only cars. It also means mass transportation. Palakpakan po natin yan. We all need an integrated infrastructure plan that links EVs to clean public transit networks. This transition requires a holistic approach to ensure that investments in green transportation lead to long-term ecological and economic benefits. And at the heart of this transition, ladies and gentlemen, is the need for robust infrastructure. And this is where public-private partnerships will play a vital role. The private sector's involvement in developing charging stations, promoting research and development, and facilitating technology transfer and human resource development will be instrumental in accelerating the adoption of EVs. At the same time, government support through policies and incentives can ensure that the infrastructure is built efficiently, equitably, and sustainably. Beyond reducing emissions, the transition to electric vehicles presents an opportunity to generate new green jobs and drive innovation. The EV industry is a growing sector globally, and the Philippines stands to benefit from the resulting technology transfer and knowledge sharing. Creating employment opportunities across the value chain is important, from vehicle production and battery manufacturing to charging infrastructure and maintenance services. Moreover, investing in the reskilling and upskilling of our workforce will help ensure that Filipinos are equipped to participate in this evolving green economy. As we gather today, I urge all stakeholders, government, industry, civil society, and the general public to embrace the electric vehicle revolution and work together to build the infrastructure, the policies, and the partnerships needed to drive this transformation. Our journey towards a sustainable future is interconnected, and the choices we make today will define the world and the nation we leave behind for future generations. Now let me just say this, let me go off script, and let us lead you towards the bigger picture, where the EV industry is and how critical it is. We know what is happening to our country. We know the challenges of climate change. We know its impact. We need to make a decision, ladies and gentlemen. We have to make that important decision. Are we going to be reined in by the circumstances and challenges that we have right now? Or are we going to decide to be bold and be bold enough to aspire for a vision that can address and transcend our current realities? Are we going to be brave enough and bold enough to co-create a future where we look at entire systems, not just in certain industries, entire systems that drive us forward, not just in terms of individual mobility convenience, but collective welfare? Are we bold enough to build an enabling ecosystem where the built environment is as sustainable and as responsive to the needs of our growing economy? We must realize, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to be part of the equation that brings together sustainability, resilience, just transition, and I dare say, a redefinition of what growth, development, and prosperity is. We need to be part of that formula that's required to transform our economy. Importante po na tayo mismo ang sumagot sa tanong, tayo ba ang magiging solusyon sa problemang kinakaharap natin? At tayo ba are we willing to invest in the future that we want and we need? Again, let us just say that the CCC remains fully committed to advance our climate agenda and support all efforts that contribute to the reduction of our greenhouse gas emissions and transform our nation to one that's sustainable. The path, ladies and gentlemen, to decarbonization is clear, and electric vehicles will contribute in that journey. Together, let us lead the way, move together, spark the change that we need, sustain the journey of a lighted path toward a cleaner, greener, and more resilient Philippines, where innovation, sustainability, and inclusivity guide our path, where EVAP means paving the way for a future that's energy secure and environmentally protected. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay kayong lahat and have a productive and inspiring and moving summer. Thank you very much.
What are we chasing? It's not the victories that escaped us. It's the competitor that becomes us. Dedicated to awakening full potential. And when we fall, it's not the regret of defeat that haunts us, but our passion for victory that engulfs us. We cultivate those who dare to be remarkable. Solid ground across any terrain. We instill that the value of success does not belong to the individual, but serves as inspiration that will move a generation. We elevate above the limits of the finish line. Beyond being a racer, we create champions.
At about 6 pesos per kilowatt hour. And in addition to that, they have the foresight to invest in solar power projects. May I just share, before I continue on with the opening with the remarks, may I just share also an example. Now, in the Board of Investments about 3 weeks ago, we registered a project that put in place solar power for 2 cement factories. This was funded by an infrastructure fund that is based in the US. So the benefit for the cement company, for the cement factories, for these two cement factories, was that without putting in any additional capital, they were able to reduce their power cost from about 7 to 9 pesos per kilowatt hour to just about 4 pesos per kilowatt hour. Of course, the flip side of that is that they were required to sign a long offtake agreement, power offtake agreement with the company that have put in place these solar panels. You think about 8 to 10 years of supply agreement. So what they're doing in Bataan is really combining what they already have, where they have the power plants, in addition to that, shifting to renewable energy. May I also greet and congratulate the officials of EVA, Edmond, Romel, Ferdy, Vic, and I also saw John Lee earlier. So congratulations for the 12th edition of the Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. I would say that I'm not too sure, but I think this summit is probably one of the longest running electric vehicle summits globally. So congratulations also for your foresight. When it was still not fashionable to talk about electric vehicles, si Eva po has been at it so for the longest time. So palakpakan naman po natin ang Eva. So recent developments including rising fuel prices and the emphasis on renewable energy have really put in the forefront yung electric vehicles. This is especially important for a country such as the Philippines that is a heavy importer of oil. In fact, it's the single biggest source of our trade deficit. And for a country that is also one of the most vulnerable when it comes to climate change disasters. So it's very important that we are really now seeing the emphasis on electric vehicle. So thank you to Eva. As you say, really because of your efforts that you put into this year in and year out for the past 12 years, I would say that we are more prepared to shift to electric vehicles. But very important is that as we see that even as the timing is right, the window is tight. No? That's why we also welcome the statement earlier of Edmond from EVAC when he said that EVAC is open to working with everyone to make this shift to electric vehicle really happen. And it's just quite amusing that, for example, even as we are here on celebrating and learning more about electric vehicles, there's another event going on just maybe less than a kilometer from here that is also featuring another kind of technology, but also for motor vehicles. No? Really, the Philippines, given our big demand, our population base, being the fastest growing economy in the region, we are a market for sure for vehicles. The question now is, will it be electric vehicles or will it be ICE vehicles? In the case of the Department of Trade and Industry and the Board of Investments, clearly we have to shift to electric vehicles. In addition to the imperative for developing electric vehicles, as I mentioned earlier, very important also is on what factors or and what advantages will we be anchoring our shift to electric vehicles. And in this particular case, we have been promoting the Philippines as the hub for electric vehicles, manufacturing in the region, assembly and manufacturing in the region, on the basis of what we call as GEMS or GEMS.
Behind every victory is a powerful winning ride. The all-new Winner X. Ride like a champion.
40% of the cost of
Life is the will to power. The desire to dominate and reshape the world, to conquer, to reign, to rule the streets. The challenge awaits. Will you answer the call and dominate with total control? Unleashing the Supreme Corsa with excellent grip and handling performance. Designed for longer mileage and extended durability. Optimum balance for your daily riding. The Supreme itself, muscle of the road. Corsa. We live in an interconnected world. A shared past, present, and future. Connected by a series of ties. Strengthened by love. For better or for worse. The need to adapt when there is change. To support one another. To bring kindness where there is pain. The need of loving kindness, of interconnection. The future you used to chase. The future you used to want. Now, you're living it. This is Jabber. Reconnect, adapt, and evolve. Jabber Motorcom. Make rides more fun.